Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome in. This is FST. It's Fantasy Sports Today. My name's Matt Striker. His name's Joe Pisapia, and this is the place for those that want to dominate. Whether it be season-long, straight-up wagering, whatever it is, we've got you covered. At SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV. Those are the social media handles. We know you want to hear from us, but guess what? We want to hear from you as well. The person whom I want to hear from, Joe Pisapia, author of the Fantasy Black Book. Come on in. I've got one question and one question only, not only for the fans out there, but also for you. Is it snowing where you are?
It's snowing where I am, and I don't think we're going to have flag football today, which is good for me because I can stay home and watch the Patriots play at 3 o'clock. That's really what I wanted to do. So perhaps I willed this to happen. It was very funny because last week I was doing the game live, and we were doing the Broncos game and the Bills. And as a Patriots fan, I said, look, we're going to have some fun today. We're going to do a little betting. I'm going to jinx both teams because I'm a Pats fan. So I wore an old Broncos shirt that I had from a team that I coach, and I had a Bills hat. So I would go back and forth. I'd put on the headband for the Broncos, and I put the Bills hat on for the other drives. And I knew eventually one team had to win. But
That's what happens.
When you think about it, I actually did jinx both teams because Josh Allen out of the playoffs and Bo Nix also out of the playoffs. So perhaps I hold a little bit more power than I realize. I got to be very careful with this power. The responsibility comes with it.
Yes, that's right. So, folks, there you go. That's why I give out the social media handles right away at the top of the show. At SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV. Want to hear from you. Do you think Joey P's got that power? Because, a lot of times people think, I have the power, this is going to happen. But if that's the case, Joe, then we know you're going to be wearing New England gear today. But let's talk about this Denver team. The game still has to be played. Let's talk about the quarterback situation. And maybe give me a scenario where Denver wins this thing. Let's start there.
Well, the scenario is that some of these turnovers that Drake May has had, and obviously, people have been getting to him a little bit, right? Will Campbell's had some struggles there, but he's also playing some elite defenses, right? I mean, the Chargers defense, very good. Texans defense, elite. And the Denver Broncos defense, elite. And I was on the Broncos side of this game, despite the fact that I think that the Patriots would win. When it came out at 5.5, I jumped on that because I think it will play tighter because of the defenses and because, you have to respect it's a home field advantage. Mile High always is. And there's a lot of those entities happening. One bad turnover, one pick six, one fumble recovery for a touchdown, and it changes the dynamic of this game a great deal. So there's a path here for the Denver Broncos without a doubt. And Jarrett Stidham, I think, will make a few plays. But I have to say, Matt, the amount of Jarrett Stidham hype videos, here he is against the 49ers when he played for the Raiders. Here he is throwing a pass when he was in fourth grade. Let's pump the brakes a little bit, okay? Jarrett Stidham is a backup in this league for a reason. Okay, he had every opportunity to succeed Tom Brady and all the support there and the draft capital, and didn't work out. And he's bounced around a little bit. And I'm not saying Jarrett Stidham can't go out there and complete some passes, but the hard part is when you haven't played in a football game all year, to then play in the AFC Championship game in that environment, I think is a lot to ask of any quarterback. And if you've seen recently, too, I think the line has already shrunk from the 5.5 that it opened to 3.5. And I think that's far more reasonable. So you see that, I think a lot of people start to identify, maybe we're giving a little bit too much credit to what's going on here. Maybe, we've got to slow our roll just a tad here. And I think that is happening as things are starting to, condense just a tad here. So there is obviously on that side of Denver a ton of talent on the defensive side. My big thing is the same thing that did not work last week, that everybody kept talking about the Texans defense. Nobody talked about the Patriots defense and how good they are, especially when they're fully healthy, how they were so great against the run. Number one in the league when healthy all the way up until week 12 against the run. Then Milton Williams got hurt. They had some issues later down the season as we ended. But that unit is so good. And I think if you take that running game away from Jarrett Stidham and you're forcing him to throw the football in situations that you don't want to throw the football if you're Jarrett Stidham, I think the Patriots defense is actually the unit that is most crucial today for the Patriots victory.
Nice turn. Well done, Joey P, making that game exciting. All right, let's move on to a game that most agree, or maybe not, I don't know. Let me take that back, that this will come down to the last possession, while there are others that believe that there's a defense here that's just far too ferocious. So, Joe, I want to hear from you. The old guys, the Rams, or Seattle? Which way is this going?
Yeah, this is a tough one here because our last couple visions of Seattle is kicking the ever-loving crap out of the 49ers 2 times, right?
Right.
And they are built for that specific task to beat the 49ers, and that has worked for them. And Seattle is a great defense. Seattle also a very tough road environment to go in and win. But I am going to be on the side of the Rams here, and here's why. Coach and quarterback. I think when you have a veteran quarterback like a Matthew Stafford in a situation like this, and a coach like Sean McVay, I think last week was a real challenge there. What did they do? The same thing the Rams always do, leave teams to hang around a little bit too long, and then bad things can happen, right? We saw that incredible play by Caleb Williams last week, and somehow we ended up in overtime. Because why? The Rams can't just shake teams off and say, okay, don't hang around here. Let's put up that second score. Let's put it out of reach. Now, if they do the same thing here at Seattle, it's going to get tricky. So last time we saw these teams meet, what happened? The Rams didn't put them away. Weird stuff happened. We had odd 2-point conversions. It was just a weird situation, right? But it took all that strange for Seattle to beat the Rams even in their own building. And I think McVay and Stafford kind of smelled this is it. We got one more ride here with this unit, probably the way it is and the way it's constructed. I think it's going to be a dogfight. The familiarity here is going to be fascinating. I think this one might even play to the under a little bit because there's so much familiarity. And it's the third time they're going with each other here and sparring once again. So the number is 45.5. I think, originally, in people's mind, this is like, oh, it's going to be in the 50s or whatever. No, it's going to be a little bit more of a dogfight, I think. And it's going to be a fascinating one at that. But I will put my money with coach and quarterback in these scenarios. And I just think they have the better of both. Matt, where do you stand on these two games? Do you have an opinion on AFC, NFC, who is advancing to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it feels like it's a clear path for New England, but I wanted you to make the case for Denver. I don't think that that's going to be a game that comes down to a last possession kind of thing. You illustrated turnovers. I think offensive line play from both teams will dictate this game, because you brought up that early in last week's game against the Texans, May was having some problems. There was some penetration. So let's see. I can imagine that an orange crush coming and putting May out would kind of even the playing field. But I am on New England for that game. You bring up a great point about familiarity, especially in wagering. This is still a wagering show on a wagering network. A lot of times when you see teams that know each other, in baseball, interdivisional and things like that, you kind of start to see those totals come down. So I think you hit that right on the head. Obviously, turnovers will be a big part of this one. It comes down to one of those last play things. But I like what you said there as far as coach and quarterback. They've been there before. They know exactly how to win. And that allows me to segue actually into the next part of our conversation is a lot of coaching vacancies in the NFL. And right now proves how important the head coach is, to Joe's point, looking at how he believes the Rams, as do I, will beat the Seahawks here today. So let's talk about some coaching hires and what they may do for the trajectory of a team next season. We'll start with the New York Giants. Joe, your thoughts?
Well, the Giants got their guy, right? John Harbaugh, and they certainly paid for him, which I'm sure makes him feel very, very good, as it should. But you are in a situation here where you have the two best quarterbacks in the league without a coach. Lamar Jackson, where Harbaugh left, and now Josh Allen. So we had Sean McDermott get fired. And obviously, some people are very split on that. I thought it was a weird year to do it, considering what the coaching landscape looked like and so many vacancies. So I would have held on to McDermott, and yet I still believe that that was probably the right call. So we'll see what Buffalo decides to do here. But Harbaugh going to the Giants is going to give them stability, something they've lacked. I mean, they've had the Ben McAdoo's and the Brian Dabols. They've been through a lot of different coaches since Tom Coughlin was gone. Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta is going to have a lot of toys here. Bijan Robinson certainly will benefit. I think Stefanski's a good coach, a good scenario. Jeff Hafley is a fascinating hire here by the Miami Dolphins, because this is the guy who all of a sudden, you're a genius on the defensive side of the football, because Micah Parsons ended up on the defense. So obviously that's my feeling about that one. He was also the coach of BC, who kind of left, if you recall, when the transfer portal started because it got too hard. I'm just saying that was a weird hire. And Robert Saleh, I really like Robert Saleh back with Tennessee getting his second shot. He deserves it. He's a good head coach. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about over-unders. We'll be right back after this.
What is going on with this John Morant saga, right? Joe's on the block. Joe wants to be traded. But now Joe comes back and he denies all trade talk and says John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. he's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's the head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there.
Yeah.
To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. There's
more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt Striker and Joe Pisapia having a great time here with you ahead of championship weekend. And Joe, before the break, we were talking about some of the new coaching hires, kind of dotting on the importance of the coaching, especially in the championship game, particularly that NFC game. So let's talk a little bit, because you were excited as we went into break that Robert Saleh is getting another chance with Tennessee. Full disclosure, Joe's located in New Jersey. I'm located in New York. So we get a lot of Jet news. And I guess you and I were in concert there. We thought that Robert Saleh maybe didn't get a fair shake here. So now you see him getting one in Tennessee. What kind of weapons will he have? And what does that mean for them?
Well, look, he had a top defense when he was a coach of the Jets, and it seemed like an organization going in the right direction. And then the Aaron Rodgers debacle happened, right? He came in, he got hurt in the first series, and then the second time around, obviously things didn't go very well. We know that the second time around. And everything just fell apart because the Jets are going to jet, and that's just the way that organization runs. You could tell because the two organizations that are having a hard time filling vacancies, the Cleveland Browns, because they give you homework and they make you take a personality test and you have to do like an essay, and apparently, I don't know, there's like an obstacle course. There's a weird amount of things you have to do to become coach of the Cleveland Browns. It's Mark Summers. He got the big giant nose. You got to pull the flag out of it. It's horrible. All right. You're in the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's a whole thing. And if you get that reference, maybe you should have a colonoscopy. I'm just saying. All right. So when you have the Robert Saleh situation here, right, getting him a second chance here. Now, you make sure the offensive coordinator is the right person to make Cam Ward the best he can be. But I think he's a good football coach. And I think he always proved that as a coordinator, too. He always got that unit to play. The defense was always good with the Jets until it wasn't at the very end there where things started to unravel. But again, a weird situation there. So I like when good football guys get a second chance here in the NFL. It tends to go well. And then Mike McCarthy, right? Pittsburgh Steelers make that hire, which is a little surprising. That happened yesterday. And McCarthy, a veteran guy, which is odd because the Steelers' MO was always taking a bright, shining, young head coaching candidate and then having him be the head coach for 20 years. That was their MO for about, 50 years now. There's been more popes than Steelers head coaches, right? I love that stat. It's a great one. So what did you make of that McCarthy hiring? Kind of an odd one going. Now, he's got a lot of history, and I'm sure it means the end of Aaron Rodgers there, I would imagine, too, don't you think?
I think this is more about continuity more than anything else, because I'm not so certain, given the way this whole thing came about. I think the Tomlin departure kind of caught people off guard, and there's a pivot And luckily, they found something that made them feel comfortable. And I don't want to liken it to things that'll bring up memories, but a lot of times, you break up with that one relationship. What's the next thing you do almost immediately is you jump into the arms of someone else. That's what I think this is. And McCarthy is a pretty good landing spot considering what's out there. You had mentioned that, but I think it's about consistency for that franchise to continue to move forward, Joe.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there too, what the quarterback situation is. Like I said, it's just so weird because you have Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, right? Big premium guys. And then all of a sudden you've got big premium franchises like the Giants, like the Steelers this year. So it's just that too many head coaching vacancies, too many interesting landing spots, just not enough great candidates. And you don't get those coaches coming from college anymore. It just doesn't happen. Like it used to, like when we were younger, you see the most coaches come through, like the Jimmy Johnsons of the world, right? You're winning national championships and then you go to the NFL. That's not what happens in 2026.
All right, but let's talk about a coach that has been able to parlay continual success. That's Sean McVay. His quarterback will be on the field today, and that brings us to the fantasy over-under. Joe, I want to ask you how you think Stafford's going to play today. The number I'm seeing is 255.5 through the air, so passing yards. Should I take the over or under, and why?
I'm going to take the over here on this one because, again, I think things will start to loosen up in this game as things go a little bit longer into it. I also think this is the identity of the Rams, too. I mean, they will run the football when they need to, but I think the path to get to the Super Bowl is putting the ball in the hands of Matthew Stafford. Fun bet, too. If you bet him to have 3 touchdowns, you're getting 3-1 on that one, which is kind of fun. So if you think he's going to have 3 passing touchdowns today, and all the touchdowns are coming from Matthew Stafford, then all of a sudden you're in a good spot here. So I think Stafford, again, this is it. This is his swan song at the beginning of the year. We forget, I think. It seems so ancient history that people were worried that if he would play this year, and now he's probably MVP, and here he is on the doorstep of the Super Bowl. But, I mean, that's bad. He was on the do not draft this guy list. To go from do not draft to MVP is quite a journey.
All right, let's continue to journey within the same game, but on the other side, I'll give you 2 options here. There's a situation in Seattle's backfield. We have Kenneth Walker III. 87.5 rushing yards is the number I'm looking at. And while I'm here, I'm looking at JSN's receiving yards. Those are 90.5. So talk to me about KW3 on the floor, and then talk to me about JSN in the air.
Yeah, at the top of the show, we've failed to mention about Zach Charbonnet's injury. So he is out, which means the workload goes to Kenneth Walker, which I think is a good thing for Ken Walker, too, because he's one of those backs. The more he touches the football, the more he gets in a rhythm. So I'm going to go over the 87.5 rushing yards for Ken Walker because I think the volume will be there today. And I think what you want to do if you're Seattle is play defense, run the football, control the football. To me, that's how you do it. And we know what JSN is, right? Like JSN is the guy. He's the main target. He's the bro. And with 90.5 receiving yards, I think that what you're trying to do if you're the Rams is slow him down, get him under that number. And I think they can today. I actually think there's a way to keep him. You're not going to stop him from catching the football. He's going to have his catches. But can you stop him from having that big 90, 100-yard receiving game? If they can do that, the Rams are in a really good position to advance to the Super Bowl. If they can't, things are going to get very tricky. Make them run the football. Make them play defense. Don't let JSN beat you. To me, I think that is the path here for these guys. And it's going to be a fascinating matchup. Again, when you have that much continuity where you're playing each other in your own division, you're so familiar, you've done all the homework, all the tape, the franchises, the general managers have built these teams to play each other. It's a unique situation we don't always get where they then play each other in an NFC championship game. So really cool situation there. And then on the flip side, the Patriots game with the Denver Broncos is trickier, Matt, because I think it's a little tougher to figure out like where you want to go for props. The one thing I will say with the Pats defense being so good against the run, I'm going to take the under on RJ Harvey's 42.5 rushing yards. They have been so stout up the middle there. Woody Marks had a terrible day last week, and I think that carries over. I think this unit keeps hearing about how good the Texans are, how good the Broncos are. I think they're playing with a chip on their shoulder, which is a very dangerous thing. Don't go anywhere. More Sports Grid, more FST when we return.
What is going on with this John Morant saga, right? Joe's on the block. Joe wants to be traded. But now Joe comes back and he denies all trade talking since John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. Who's head coach of the New York Giants? Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. Here's the
There's
thing.
more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt Striker and Joe Pisapia with you here, a part of just a great group of people here at SportsGrid. I just want to let you folks know, and I'm sure many of you do, there's this brutal snowstorm just sweeping across the nation. Do you know that our producers, one of them had to cover for another, got in his car, 20-minute drive, normally took him over an hour, got here. Our other producer from home in his Ugg boots and boxer shorts, if you can picture that, got the show loaded up. Like, it's an amazing time in which we live. The problem is there's no more excuses. When I was their age, I'd be making excuses. I don't know, man.
Man, the roads are closed, man.
Yeah, things can get done.
But in that scenario, but
because that's who I am at all
Maybe
times when I'm making any kind of irresponsible excuses. I'm always going to be like, hey, man. But I just want to say that whatever they say about this generation coming up, if nothing else, you guys are resourceful and you guys make things happen. And without you, this world stops. So tip of the cap to you. All right, Joe, I want to ask you some burning questions, my friend. For those that don't know, Joe is an author. The Fantasy Black Book, perhaps you've heard of it. It's changed the way people have played and won fantasy sports, at wagering, and just the way they've looked at sports. It all comes from Joe's mind and his fingertips, along with a great team. So you're the perfect guy to ask these burning questions about these teams that have just been eliminated and how we can look at them for next year. And I guess the first question on everyone's mind at SportsGrid TV, keep the conversation going, is which of the 4 eliminated teams from last week have the best chance to make the Super Bowl next year? Just as a reminder for the lapsed fan, that would involve the Texans, the Bills, the Niners, and the Bears. Out of those 4 teams, if I were a betting man, wink, wink, which of those 4 have the best chance to get to the Super Bowl next year, Joe?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do process of elimination. The Bears, I still think, have work to do. It was a magical season for the Bears. Don't get me wrong. Everything that could break their way did, and I think some years is going to be like that. Some years it's not. The San Francisco 49ers, the amount of injuries they had, people would say, well, that's got to be better, right? Except the fact it's never better. And the fact that Christian McCaffrey had 4 billion touches this year, and he's going to be 30 next year. And George Kittle is coming off a torn Achilles tendon, and Brandon Ayuk is getting driven somewhere else by the general manager to another team. So many weird things are going on there with the 49ers. I think it's easy to say the Bills because it's Josh Allen, but you don't know what's going to happen here as a new coach comes in and a new regime comes in and what that offense looks like. Or do we promote from within? Like, what's going to happen there, right? I think the Houston Texans, despite that, people are going to think I'm crazy here. The Houston Texans, if they could just fix the offensive line, so CJ Stroud has 3 seconds to throw the football, okay? All I'm asking, or 2 seconds to throw the football, or maybe even just 1. Just one. Can I get one rib? Can I get
to make
1
a second
second?
decision.
Maybe?
Right.
Oh my God. Like
Sure.
it was horrendous, but I think that defense is so ferocious. They're so good. We all knew going into the year when they traded Tunzel and did all this stuff that the offensive line was going to be bad. And it showed up in the playoffs against really good defenses. You got to fix the offensive line. If they do that next year, you have Jaden Higgins, you have some good pieces around him. To me, I think that there's a real opportunity here where you're looking at the Houston Texans and that defense being very tough to stop. I think the Texans are actually the closest because of the way they're constructed right now. They have a soft division, I think, still, that they can get in the playoffs and then run the table and get to a Super Bowl because that defense is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Stroud's a good quarterback. Everyone's on him. It's tough when you don't have your main weapon in Nico Collins. You have no time to throw the football. That's a bad combination of things. Give him a better support system, and I think next year it could be a very different looking Houston Texans team.
All right, we'll keep the conversation going on the other side of the same coin, and kind of touched on it here, is which team will regress most in 2026 of the four, the Texans, Bills, Niners, and Bears. My vote goes to the Niners just on age, just on the fact that everyone's getting better. But we want to hear from you, Joe. Which team's going to regress the most next season?
I actually think it's the Bears, and here's why. Because
Really?
when things are new and you have a good situation there, we're like, hey, look at us. Look what we did. We made the playoffs. Like look at us. We made it within an arm's length of the NFC Championship game. I think that there becomes a little bit of a situation where the expectations are high and different. And when the expectations are higher, I don't think anybody had a lot of expectations. Even people like the Bears fans I know were like, oh, cool, maybe we'll be above 500. That was like their expectation this year. It wasn't to beat the Packers in the playoffs. They've had very dramatic games. As I said, all of these bounces went their way this year. It's not going to be the case. Some of these tight games you play, when one year you win them, the next year you don't. Just ask the Kansas City Chiefs what that looked like year over year, right? They played in more three-point games than any other team, and somehow the Chiefs won all of them 2 years ago, and this year they couldn't win a single one of them. So to me, you're looking at that coupled with there still seems to be some friction there, for me at least, reading between the lines of Ben Johnson and his quarterback. Let's see how that all goes. Maybe we continue to get the maturation of Caleb Williams, but maybe you don't. And maybe all of a sudden, a couple of losses here and there. Let's see how they react to it. So I think the Bears are the most tenuous prospect. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. More FST coming at you.
What is going on with this John Morant saga, right? Joe's on the block. Joe wants to be traded. But now Joe comes back and he denies all trade talks and John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing.
There's more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, okay.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST. It's Fantasy Sports Today. Matt Striker and Joe Pisapia giving you everything you need ahead of championship weekend. And of course, stick around, an entire slate of fantastic minds giving unique analyses, if you will. You know, most times, Joe, when you watch a program or you watch a channel, it's pretty much everyone says the same thing, fall in line. But I got to hand it to the crew just on this program, this show, this channel alone. A lot of diverse opinions, a lot of good insight, especially on the wagering side, where to find those quick hits to get that plus money. And that leads me now to the guys that broke out, that will break out, pardon me, in 2026. I want to get ahead of the game here, and I want to know at certain positions, where can I start to think about putting my money? And I want to start at the tight end position because every single season we see it. It's always a problem. Beginning of this season, we had tight ends go down left and right. Your thoughts on where we should look for next season?
Yeah, look, actually, the tight end position, I think year over year looks really good. Going into this year, I think there's a lot of questions. I think we have a lot of answers right now. You have Trey McBride at the top. You have hopefully a healthier Brock Bowers. You have Tyler Warren, a rookie who was the tight end 10 going into this year. Obviously had a great performance until Daniel Jones got hurt. You have Harold Fannin Jr., right? All these young tight ends really looking like the position's pretty healthy and you don't have to take one early. You could find somebody a little later. And one of those guys, even Tucker Kraft coming back from an injury, people forgot it was a breakout year for Tucker Kraft in 2025. And then unfortunately he got hurt. We'll see him next year, hopefully. But despite the fact that I have some concerns going into next year about the Bears, the one thing I'm not concerned about is the role of Colston Loveland in his second year. I think you saw down the stretch and you saw in the playoffs how important Colston Loveland's going to be to this offense moving forward. You saw what Sam Laporta was able to do in that offense when Ben Johnson was in Detroit. And I do believe that Colston Loveland's going to be that big tight end that he's going to use in that offense. And we don't know if DJ Moore is on this team or not. Does he get run out of town by the media or the fan base? Do they make some changes there? But I think regardless, Colston Loveland, to me, this is a segment based upon your keeper leagues, the guys you want to be holding on to, your dynasty leagues, the guys you want to acquire. Colston Loveland, I think, is in for a big 2026. No matter what the landscape of the Bears offense looks like, he is going to be, I think, a target monster and one of the top 5 tight ends when all is said and done when the season ends.
All right, moving on here. Everyone is always looking for that next quarterback. Everyone is always looking for that, dare I say, diamond in the rough, although I don't think this guy is going to be a diamond in the rough. But I think you're going to give us a player that has a fresh start. Maybe there's a new coach. Where can I go looking for quarterback next season?
Well, Jackson Dart, I think, is one of those guys because we already know his rushing ability, but he's got a lot of energy, right? And I think with John Harbaugh, it brings a little bit of stability, something the Giants definitely need. Jackson Dart's entertaining. Cam Scadaboo's entertaining. Malik Neighbors entertaining, right? But when you have a presence, I think, in the locker room, like a John Harbaugh, who's been coaching in the league for 2 decades, who's been to Super Bowls, who's won Super Bowls, like I think that's a different dynamic that I think everybody just kind of goes, oh, we have a different level of work that we're going to have to put in now. And I think that he's going to get that out of these guys. I think Dart wants to be successful. Last year, this time, we talked about Jackson Dart. We were talking about prospects, and I was like, I really like this kid. I think he's going to be a lot better than people realize. Landing spot's important, and New York wasn't too big for him. But the fact that he already can make plays with his legs, I think Harbaugh will try to get him to play a little bit smarter with that part of his game. Take more slides, take more out of bounds. Don't worry about getting that extra yard. Worry about getting that extra down where you're healthy and you're not in the blue tent. And I think that goes a long way. And when you add in the health of the pieces around him next year, Scadaboo, Malik Neighbors coming back, I think you have a good situation where Jackson Dart might not be drafted as a QB1 or right on that fringe, but I think he has the upside to finish as a top 10 QB.
Yep, I like it a lot. All right, we're turning it over to you now, the audience at SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV. We're taking your questions on the 2026 breakouts, and now the questions are coming in. They're asking for running backs, Joe. So let's go there. Give me a running back that will be a 2026 breakout candidate.
Well, despite there were a lot of factors around him that would make a difficult season for Quinshon Judkins. Remember, he missed a lot of training camp because of some legal issues, right? Then he had some injuries within that season, and he also had to play for the Cleveland Browns. So those are all difficult things, the different quarterbacks you had to worry about and play through and figure out. Whoever the next coach of the Browns is, I think you have to walk in there going, all right, we have to play defense, run the football. And I think Quinshon Judkins with a calmer offseason, a regular full training camp, a chance to really dive into whatever the next playbook is going to be in a little bit better continuity. I think, if there's a starting quarterback named and that quarterback happens to be the quarterback for the entire season, by the grace of God, that Quinshon Judkins is in a really good position. So you saw some flashes, you saw some moments, but I think going into 2026 in year 2, I think the gloves will be off for him and he'll be able to go ahead and really be that bell cow running back. We know he can be a 3-down back. That's why they drafted him. And I think whatever regime takes over will utilize him in that sense.
All right, we're fielding your questions at SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV. We hear you about running backs. If we have time, we'll give you one more. But right now, Joe, this is where you earn your pay. Wide receiver. You've got to nail it down. Give me one wide receiver that's going to break out next season.
Look, if you're watching last week closely or any other week where Nico Collins wasn't available, Jaden Higgins is a dude, okay? Another prospect that we really hyped up last year and we thought could be an impact player in a lot of ways compared to Nico Collins, actually, before he ended up being on the same team as Nico Collins. So whatever happens with Nico Collins in 2026, I think Jaden Higgins, as long as that offensive line comes together a little better, is going to be a rock star. I see that opportunity. You see the size of Jaden Higgins. You see the catch radius. You see all the ability to make the big plays. And it's just a matter, I think, of just gaining the confidence of the quarterback, the offensive coordinator, gaining the confidence of yourself, too, that you can compete at this level. And I think as the season went on, and especially in that playoff game last week, you saw Jaden Higgins make some big catches in some big spots there. Obviously, they came up short. But to me, you watch Higgins play and you go, that's an NFL wide receiver. That's a guy who's going to be a big contributor. And I think because he had a relatively quiet rookie season, that he is an asset that you could potentially acquire in a trade this offseason in a dynasty or keeper scenario. So Jaden Higgins is one of these guys that I think you buy low a little bit there because I think you saw enough to warrant excitement going into 2026.
Right. All right, I am being told by our producer, the phenomenal AJ, that he's going to push the next commercial so that we can actually give another running back. All right, AJ, I like your style there. The fans are asking, Joe, give us another running back that we can look forward to in addition to Quinshon Judkins for 2026.
Look, is it Mike McDaniel? Is he the offensive coordinator of the Chargers? Is he not? Is he taking a head coaching job? I don't know. But whoever the OC ends up becoming, Omarion Hampton probably is going to be the guy. It was an injury-plagued season for Omarion Hampton, which sucks, right? When the opportunity kind of fell on his lap, all of a sudden it got wished away again. And it's just very frustrating for him, for fantasy managers. But I think the vision is clearly there. Kamani Vidal did a nice job. What you need is a healthy offensive line next year. Rashawn Slater coming back from injury. Alt had an injury-riddled season. With those two tackles healthy, and maybe you beef up a little bit at guard in the draft, all of a sudden Omarion Hampton is set up to have a great season. And they're going to run the football more, but it doesn't matter because he's also a guy who can catch the football out of the backfield too. Omarion Hampton, another guy, could be a bell cow 3-down back, and I think the Chargers know that. That's why they drafted him. That's why they liked him so much. And I just think too many X factors like the offensive line injuries, some of the game scripts, and then his health as well. Nothing lined up, unfortunately, last year for Omarion Hampton. So anybody who's frustrated with Omarion Hampton in your league, offer them a bridge. Say, walk Omarion Hampton over from your team to mine. Here's some draft picks. Here's some capital. Because I think this year's draft is a little trickier. I don't think it has nearly the depth. It's not nearly the same as a quarterback class. It's going to be very difficult, I think, this season. 2027 looks like it's going to be a fantastic draft with the talent, especially at the quarterback position. Right. But 2026 is a little tricky right now. So if you have a bunch of draft picks, put them all together and go get a star like Omarion Hampton, who's going to be a stud. Any of these guys we're talking about could be the ones to take their game to the next level in 2026. You saw flashes, you saw moments, even full games or even full months, but you haven't seen a full season from any of these guys. And I think all of them are poised to be breakouts in 2026. When we come back, we're going to talk about the stars of today. And I mean today. I'm talking about Sunday. We come back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the stars of Championship Sunday.
What is going on with this John Morant saga, right? Joe's on the block. Joe wants to be traded. But now Joe comes back and he denies all trade targets, and John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. Here's the
There's
thing.
more. Hold on a second.
Hang on. Go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today. Matt Striker and Joe Pisapia hanging out with you, having a great time here as we do each and every week. Each and every show on this channel just has their own unique brand of fun. And I'll tell you, Joe, your brand is pretty unique. All right, let's talk about the guys that are going to win us some money today. Let's talk about the players that are going to perform above and beyond today. Let's nail it down here, Joe. I want to start with the Patriots and the Broncos. While the Broncos quarterback situation has been on the tip of everyone's tongue, I'd like to talk about the Patriots quarterback. Lay it on me.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I took mercy on you with all of the Mets news this week, acquiring Freddie Peralta and Luis Robert and Bo Bichette. I was like, well, if we do a baseball segment, it's going to be all Mets. And then he's going to have to listen to me talk about the Mets and the Patriots in this. I mean, what a horrible Sunday for Matt Striker that would be. So I just want you to recognize that I took some mercy on you.
Thank you.
I put pity on my friend, Matt Striker. Look, what you need. Oh, don't worry. You want to do we could do a Cardinals segment if you want, but I think it's only going to be. Do we have a 30-second segment? I don't think we have a 30.
Let's talk about Drake May here. Let's win some people some money on this game.
Look at it. I've driven him to say the words, let's talk more about Drake May. Yes, let's talk about Drake May. Why? Because although he has had some shaky moments here, he hasn't been rattled. And I think that is the thing you take away from this game. And this is the thing you take away from the last couple games here. It was a slog going against a Harbaugh defense that was prepared, that was ferocious, that got after it. And you know what? He survived. The Houston Texans, next level, man. That pass rush is unbelievable. Will Anderson, Daniel Hunter, that whole group is incredible. And he survived, and he made a couple big throws when he needed to. That throw to Kayshon Boutte, the throw to Stephon Diggs, that's what you're looking for Drake May. You're not looking for the giant stat line again here today. I don't think that's been the MO of him getting there. It's been, can Drake May make the big plays in those moments there where it's still difficult, but he finds a way. And the fact that he's always just level no matter what, I think speaks a lot to this kid's maturity. This is going to be a tough test, though. Denver's a tough place to play. The environment is tough. It's loud. The defense is really good. The air is different, right, up there, as we all talk about. But to me, I think it's Drake May. And the other guy, too, is Travion Henderson, where if you watch carefully last week, James Cook ran amok on the Denver defense, okay? So they might be great in the secondary, but they've got some problems with the run, and they were exposed last week. And I think any good coach is going to look at that tape from that Bills game and say, okay, What sort of runs were they running there in Buffalo? What sort of concepts? We need to do that. And I think, outside of Ramondre, I think Travion kind of fits that little shiftier running back. And it was quiet for him last week. We all know it was a little quiet for Travion. But I think he has that one big run in this game, and I think that might be the difference maker too. So if you have Drake May make a few plays, you have Travion Henderson break that one big one, to me, those are the difference makers in this game on the road, where they have been terrific. They have been road warriors, the Patriots, all year long. In fact, they've struggled at home a little bit at times. It's on the road where this unit really seems to come together. So for Jarrett Stidham in that company, I would say this. I would look for checkdowns, which means maybe a guy like Evan Ingram is a player that might be a little bit more involved in this offense all of a sudden than you're used to seeing him. Because for Jarrett Stidham, I think he's going to have trouble seeing that second level and being able to get the ball down the field a little bit. I think some checkdowns to Harvey, some checkdowns to Evan Ingram might be a little bit more in store for him. So those are kind of the stars potentially of that game here on that side for the AFC.
So some mature and advanced quarterback play would definitely favor the Broncos, and I agree with that. And speaking of, it then brings me to the next obvious portion of this segment. Let's talk about Matthew Stafford, and what do you see for Matthew Stafford today in a game that is going to also feature a ferocious defense?
It is, but it's not an unfamiliar one. And I think what Matthew Stafford's ability to excel at most is obviously the mental aspect of the game. The physical aspect has always been there for him, but he is a cerebral, smart quarterback. He's going to know exactly what the coverages are. He's seen this team twice. He sees this team every year, right? There's familiarity, which I think favors a little bit at this point Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. So I'm going to still lean on that side. Do you think it will be a close game? I think Seattle's going to give it everything they have. If Seattle won, it would not shock me in the slightest. Seattle has been fantastic. But I think there's just a little bit, kind of like when we watched the 49ers at the end of the year before they played Seattle, and people were saying, oh, look, the 49ers are back. They look so good. I was like, yeah, let's have them play a real team, right? I don't want to take that same ass kicking that I saw last week and invert that and say, oh, look, Seattle's unbeatable. Look what they did to the 49ers. No, the 49ers have problems, massive holes, massive injuries, right?
Sure.
So I think this Rams team coming in a different way. I think they're very excited to get out of the cold that was Chicago. That's for damn sure. Get home. The travel's a lot easier here as well for them. So they've been out there. They've been playing. They've been the road warriors here. So they're going to have to play all these road games to get there, but they put themselves in that situation. And I think for a Stafford McVay team, being the ones that are the chaser instead of the chasee, I think is a really unique position for them that they're not used to being in. Now they put themselves there. They earn that. But I think there's something about digging your way out here on the road that really bands them together in these last couple of games. Carolina was a tough out. Chicago was a tough out. Seattle's going to be the toughest out if they can get through them. But it's going to be Stafford, I think, and 3 touchdowns from him that'll have to power them through this game.
Yeah, you've got me. Great job selling and promoting that game. I'm with you. The money is in the chase. All right, one slight wrinkle that can be in this familiar matchup between Seattle and the Rams would be the fact that it's Kenneth Walker III in the backfield here due to some injury situations. How will that play into this game, if at all?
Well, look, it's going to play into this game. He's going to be a factor as long as he's healthy. So Ken Walker obviously getting the lion's share of the carries here with Zach Charbonnet out. So we're going to see the full workload. And again, I keep coming back to it. I mentioned it earlier. I think he is a rhythm running back. I think sometimes the deficit of Ken Walker is the fact that he doesn't get enough carries because he splits with Charbonnet sometimes. The reason for that is because Ken Walker has also had some injury history. And that's fair. You want to keep him healthy. But this is the end game here. So all bets are off. I would look for him to get 20-plus carries in this game, maybe even 25 touches total. Ken Walker is going to be, I think, the focal point of this offense. JSN, we know what he can do. Now this is another big moment for Sam Darnold. Can he pass another test on a big level? We shall see today. We come back. We're going to talk about those games and more, maybe some Super Bowl predictions and previews. Who knows? We return. Don't go anywhere.
What is going on with this John Morant saga, right? Joe's on the block. Joe wants to be traded. But now Joe comes back, and he denies all trade targets, and John says he has no desire to play elsewhere. So he shut it down. He's still viewed as a franchise centerpiece when on the floor. Memphis, they're better with him.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there.
Yeah.
To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No,
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
that's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. Here's the
There's
thing.
more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
All right, folks, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports. Today, Matt Striker and Joe Pisapia giving you everything that you may need to dominate on this day. At SportsGrid TV, those are social media handles. We love to hear from you. Joe, my friend, as always, you've done a great job today breaking down every single angle, ways we can win money today, ways we can think about winning money in the future. Right now, I want to know it's time for 3 and Out. 3 things that Joey P., the author of the Fantasy Black Book, the mind, the master. 3 things you're looking forward to today. And be specific, please.
Well, look, I think the honing in on the difference making in these games too. We start with this AFC one. It's about the Patriots' ability to stop the run. If you stop the run, you really limit what Jarrett Stidham, I think, can do, and you're forcing him into situations and some 3rd and longs potentially that are going to be very difficult for him to make on a consistent basis. That secondary is very ball hawky too. They will pick you off. They're very aggressive, right? Christian Gonzalez is terrific out there too. So you're taking away Cortland Sutton today. You're taking away a run game, and it's just not a lot there. Like Jarrett Stidham's gonna have to be Superman. Like, could a miracle happen? Of course it can. This is football. It's the NFL, right? It's us against the world. But I got to tell you, I mean, I'm not investing in it. I'm just not. I just don't think you can right now, and we'll see how it all plays out. And on the flip side, too, I think it's the Patriots' ability to run the football that I think is going to be very important. You want to wear that defense down a little bit. You could score on the Denver Bronco defense. Just ask Josh Allen and company, right? They can. You know, Josh Allen and that group last week gave that game away. They really did. And they had opportunities there. They should be playing today in New England. That's where they should be. But instead, they're at home, and their head coach doesn't have a job. But I think that if Travion Henderson can break that one big one, if Ramondre Stevenson can get consistent yardage, it takes that pressure off Drake May a little bit too, puts them in better 3rd down situations. The key to this game is the better 3rd down situations. If the Patriots are constantly in 3rd and shorts, that's a really good situation for them to convert and move the chains. If the Denver Broncos, because they can't run the football and they can't, necessarily look deep here because Jarrett Stidham's limitations, that's going to be a longer day. That's going to be a lot of 3rd and longs, a lot of situations where it's not going to favor them, and it becomes turnover prone. So I think those scenarios there, when you start talking about them, the running games on both these teams are really going to tell the story, I think, of how this game goes. And then with the Rams in Seattle, this is the 3rd time they're meeting, right? This is in-division rivals. This is teams that are so familiar with each other, coaching staff so familiar with each other. You are built to play each other, and I think that's going to be a really fun, unique game. I'm going to continue to say the same thing, which is Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, they're certainly not making it easy on everybody if you're a Rams fan, but they're becoming these road warriors. I think it's an interesting path for them, and I think they do get there. What's your take on these two games, too? I've talked a lot about them, but how do you see things going forward, and what do you think that Super Bowl is going to be when we look up on Sunday night?
So echoing your sentiments here, I do believe that New England will have to get after the quarterback, but I think that Denver's going to do the same thing. I just think that New England is superior. And I would have loved to have seen a game in a blizzard. You know, you laid out the scenario, had Buffalo won. I think a lot of us, I mean, not discounting that there can't be snow, but still, I think I would have liked that. But I do like New England in that one. For the Rams, Seattle, you know, listening to you here now for the duration of the show, it was Seattle's defense that scared me. But when you start talking about coach and quarterback, and you start talking about the big playmakers on the Rams side, that's how I see this. I see it being the Rams and the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And then to me, I think you have to lean to the Rams there, but that's a conversation for another time. But just because of their experience and the been there before itness, I would think the Rams, if they get in, go all the way. Joe.
All right, Matt, let's talk a little bit about those coaching vacancies that remain here, because you know, we're trying to figure out, like, you know, Josh Allen's out there. He's a free agent, basically looking for a head coach. You know, now the Steelers' job has been taken. So, I mean, is there a candidate? Do you think they go from within with a Joe Brady, or you think they go from outward and trying to bring somebody in? I saw Arthur Smith signing to be OC with Ohio State. That's got to make a lot of, oh, thank God he's off the table. Because that's not the guy.
Seriously. If I'm the Bills, I would want to look to see what Pittsburgh just did, trying to maintain continuity and perhaps, to your point, promoting from within. But when I look out at the field, it would have to be something so spectacular. It would have to be, you know, Bill Belichick, Mike Tomlin, it would have to be something where everyone goes, got it. That's the reason. Because you made a great point. Other than McDermott, like, whom would you rather have that's available? So maybe promoting from within is the way to go for this team. Joe?
I was shocked that a guy like McCarthy at this point in his career, at his age too, wouldn't want to just say, I guess it wasn't offered to him, but I want to go coach with Josh Allen. Like, that's what I want to. I want to go to Pittsburgh. Why? Because I get to pick my own quarterback. No quarterback you're going to pick is being as good as Josh Allen. That's for damn sure. Great stuff as always here from our team. And obviously that's our signal that it's time to go here. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. From Matt Striker, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Enjoy Championship Sunday. It's going to be a great one.
.7% chance of winning a PGA Tour major. Would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week, and the major's the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, oh, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.